I had this thought that I really wanted to connect with you, particularly with the Wuhan virus
Yes.
outbreak. And I've been seeing, some of your latest videos on that. And I think they might have been put out there just, a week or so ago. Any new updates, or what are your thoughts about it? I mean, people are trying to wrap their head around it and process it, and we're not sure if we're getting real information here. What can you tell us?
Well, let me say first off that tinyurl.com/steal-Wuhan is the article that I wrote for Tehran Times. It breaks my heart that I can't get published in the United States of America. But the Tehran Times published me, and it was repeated in Russia, in China, in Veterans Today, and many other places. I published an article on the whole thing. And I will tell you right now that, number one, this was an act of war. I believe it was an act of war that was carried out by the deep state and its Zionist underbelly, not by the United States of America. I believe that the Jewish professor at Harvard that betrayed his country and took $1.5 million from the Chinese to create a biowarfare facility in Wuhan, I believe he's half of the picture. He's there to be seen. They basically sacrificed him so that he would get the blame, and it could then be said that the virus leaked from the biowarfare thing. I don't think that happened. What I think happened was you had this cover story over here, and then deep state agents, perhaps using drones, released the virus all over the marketplace and in the hospitals. 41% of the people got infected in hospitals. Now, second big point, radiation sickness presents precisely the same as the flu. We've had entire airliners grounded and everyone on the airline quarantined. Now think cruise ships. Everyone has been quarantined because they thought they had a form of contagious flu. In fact, what it was radiation sickness, because we have a new set of satellites that is doing Wi-Fi down to airplanes and cruise ships, and people are getting radiation sickness because it hasn't been calibrated. So from where I sit, and here's the third part, I'm sorry. The third part of all of this is that the Chinese economy was not destroyed by the virus. It was destroyed by the information war that the Western media waged against China. Just like with 9/11, where the Western media had the script in advance and it was ready to go with the official narrative. When this thing happened, the Western media said the sky is falling in, the sky is falling in, the sky is falling in. Fewer than 1,000 people have died of this in China. And 2.8 million a year die of the normal flu in China. 1,000, 2.8 million. And John Rappaport is observed just yesterday that now the Western media is saying anybody who dies, they've died from the coronavirus. So what we have is this massive mind screw going on in the media, and the US government is a party to that. Now China underreacted and then overreacted. The local officials betrayed the public by intimidating and then locking up the people that were sounding the alarm on the 8th of December. When Xi Jinping was properly briefed around the 18th of January, he recognized that he had something big going on, and he overreacted. One of the biggest mistakes that China has made is that it has herded people into large open air facilities. What they should have done was had a national scrub down, everybody shelter in place. That would have isolated individuals, because what China's done basically is the hospitals that infected 41% of the people, now these big open air stadiums and facilities and stuff, I think have infected 60% of the people. So that particular countermeasure made it worse. At the end of the day, I think President Trump is right. This virus is going to peak in April. We're going to get back to normal. And out of all of this, what I think needs to happen is a joint Chinese-American investigation that starts with the Harvard professor being seriously interrogated.
Do you feel like it's a lot worse than we're being told?
No, I feel it's a lot better than we're being told.
Great. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting from.
Let me also say, I'm not one to say extraterrestrials did this or that. I mean, I got into extraterrestrials kind of by accident. I read an MIT book. I read a book published by MIT on a conference that MIT sponsored on abductees about 15 years ago. And what I found interesting was that everyone's experience worldwide was more or less similar. I never gave that much thought. But then I saw Kerry Cassidy and I started seeing David Wilcock and I started reading more books. I've now read about 15 or 20 books in this space. And I remember Albert Einstein saying everything is energy. Okay. And I started reading about, 26 dimensions and stuff like that. I'm just a dumb old guy in a basement in Oakton. Okay. I'm not like you, conscious and woke and all this stuff. But one of the things that I think is happening is that the viruses and the nuclear missiles have been neutralized to some extent by some positive force. I don't want to say it's Tibetan monks praying. I don't want to say it's grandmother groupies in California having good positive thoughts. Something is going on out there that is making the world better.
Nice. So like the White Hats, are they a part of these 3-letter organizations or are they separate? Are they like in those, or are there pieces of them in there? Or
the only white hat I know is General Michael Flynn, and I'm a huge fan of his. And I believe he will be completely exonerated. It's been my honor to help in his defense in a small, significant way. My best guess is that 90% of the U.S. government, going back through history, has always been good people trapped in a bad system. And there have been this 10% at the top, including John Brennan and Alan Dulles and others that have just been pure evil. My sense is that the White Hats are everywhere, just like the Freemasons are everywhere, just like Opus Dei is everywhere. You have good secret societies and you have bad secret societies. For me, my personal view is that 9/11 was a wake-up call. 9/11 was an inside job. It was planned and executed by the Zionists for the states of New York and New Jersey, and it was enabled by Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, James Comey, possibly by Rudy Giuliani, and covered up by Michael Bloomberg, which is why all 5 feet, 5 inches of him will never be elected. He is going to be hung on 9/11, as well as his racism and his guns and his taxing sodas so you don't get fat and all these other things. 9/11, I think, shocked the White Hats into understanding that America is an occupied country. We have 27 states that have made it a felony to criticize Israel. Now, those 27 states did not pass that law because it's a good idea to say you shouldn't genocide Palestinians. They passed that law because all of those legislators in the majority that voted for the law are being bribed or blackmailed. Jeffrey Epstein is the tip of the Mossad pedophilia entrapment network across this country. There are many Jeffrey Epsteins in every single one of the 50 states, and they are crucifying governors, and Jesse Ventura has talked about this. They are bribing and blackmailing governors, legislators, judges, prosecutors, chiefs of police, and sheriffs in order to allow for smuggling guns, drugs, cash, gold, and small children. There is a massive trade in small children in this country, including many small children that are given birth to as a cash crop, never registered, and then sold to Turkey for $50,000 each. That's the latest out of a Mormon cult that I'm quite sure Mitt Romney is helping cover up.
oh yeah, so many cult shows too now on Netflix, really revealing a lot. Scientology too, and just all the threats against speaking out against it to, because of exactly what you're saying and how widespread it is.
I mean, talk about censorship. One of America's greatest musicians was advertising his show. This is a guy that's been a musician for 40 years across America. He was advertising his show on the Major League Baseball websites, and all of his ads were shut down because the B'nai B'rith, the Anti-Defamation League, and the American-Israeli Committee all went to the Major Baseball League and said, this guy is anti-Semitic. He's not anti-Semitic. He was talking about supporting the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which is about not genociding Palestinians. And I will tell you, one of the things I have learned from all of my reading is that most Jews in America are now ashamed of the Zionist genocide of the Palestinians. Marjorie Kahn has written a great article, Progressive Less Palestine is not good enough. So all Jews, I think, join you and me in wanting to be the right kind of person toward the Palestinians.
Yeah, talk about a targeting and using a race to leverage
Yeah, it's
power.
censorship. It's absolute censorship. And if I were president, the Major League Baseball people would be getting the same kind of scorn that President Trump properly gave the National Football League when it wasn't supporting American rights. Look, everyone has a right to dissent, and that includes a right to be critical of Israel. And if Israel can't handle that, get out of the USA.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get out and
Oh my goodness. Well, you've been putting out something recent that is growing. It's UNRIG.
Unrig, hashtag unrig.
Unrig, yes. So is that an acronym that means, or tell us what it means?
It's just unrig. I mean, the president.
Oh,
You know,
like unrig, yes.
I've always been interested in election reform. I gave up on intelligence reform and governance reform about 15 years ago. I realized that at the end of the day, you cannot reform the government unless you get the citizens involved. Okay. Now, I have a graphic that I use which shows that 70% of our eligible voters are disenfranchised. The Democrats control 17% of the active voters. The Republicans control 13% of the active voters. And then there's another 20% that are Greens, Libertarians, Independents, and so forth. 50% of our voters don't vote at all for various reasons, not just suppression, but a lot of them are very smart and they know that it's a rigged system. Well, when President Donald Trump said publicly it's a rigged system, God spoke to me. And God said, Robert, hashtag unrig.
Perfect.
Okay, so God has the trademark. But hashtag unrig is something that I created. Cynthia McKinney, black, alt-left female former congresswoman, joined me in that. And we started a national tour that was very quickly destroyed because people that destroyed us understood that America first means not Israel first. And there are a lot of people in the Republican and Democratic parties that like things exactly the way they are. They have a mockery. Our elections are not real. In fact, the electronic voting machines were designed so you can determine the winner before the first vote is cast. Okay, fractional voting. Hashtag unrig is my gift to President Trump or my gift to presidential candidate Bloomberg. The first person to support hashtag unrig and say to the public, we will put 100 people in the Congress in 2022 that are neither Republican nor Democratic has a really good shot at having a landslide win in 2020. Hashtag unrig is about unrigging the system. And so I have to ask the president, Mr. President, you said the system is rigged. Why aren't you unrigging it?
Gosh, it really amazing and important that you have been, called to do that. And that's just within the last couple of years, right? You began
Yes.
to put this free material on your YouTube channel relating to cosmic consciousness, extraterrestrials, and more. But this whole concept of, taking the most destructive and deceptive thing away to really bring the power back to the people. I mean, not a lot of people are pushing for that. So much gratitude there. And for everything.
I have to tell you, I mean, one of my big concerns is that the people have become
Right.
dumb and drugged. The people have been drugged down, and I mean, our schools no longer teach civics. Our schools no longer have physical education classes. They don't have art and music, which is part of creating those brain cells that can dance and do innovation and stuff like that. Our entire system since the 1920s has been designed to turn people into factory workers and cogs in the wheel and so forth. We've lost our liberty. Now, Donald Trump, he has warts, but he is, I think, a change agent. And my personal thing with Cynthia McKinney is beyond Trump, beyond Sanders. All of us should be playing for putting the public back into the government. And all of us should be playing for 2024 when we have a transpartisan team that comes in and says, we're going to close all of our military bases overseas. We're going to stop giving foreign aid. Someone else smarter than me wrote an article the other day in which they said foreign aid is taking money from poor people in a rich country to give it to the rich people in a poor country. That's a really good description of what foreign aid is all about. And Burisma in the Ukraine, it's now documented that most of the money that the United States gave to the Ukraine went first to the corrupt fascists running the country, and then over half of it was kicked back to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden. That's what's going to come out if there's ever a court case that where Hunter Biden is put on under oath or polygraphed. I mean, there are ways to get people to tell the truth whether they want to or not.
And that should all be coming.
Huh?
That should all be coming.
I think that is coming. I think that's going to be the October surprise before the election.
So what I love about your support of the Trump administration is it's much more about the larger picture, because a lot of people are going to go down to that conquer and divide and just be in battle about, oh, why are you maybe supporting Trump? He's this, he's that, he's this. But I just see, a larger picture similar to you that I think people can get very confused about. So in the thought that he might be reelected in 2020, what do you see, or what is your hope for the administration? And
Well,
what concerns do you have?
Well, I mean, my concerns are Mike Pompeo, Jared Kushner, Ivanka, unwanted Ivanka. I mean, Trump has surrounded himself with people that are killing him. When Jared Kushner destroyed Christie's transition team, who had 4,000 people ready to go, pre-cleared, 12 volumes, Jared Kushner basically cut the president off at the knees. And so my major concern is, and I like Corey Lewandowski saying, let Trump be Trump. Let me also give a shout out to Jack Welch, the CEO of GE, Neutron Jack, okay? He was leaving the White House, and this quote is in Team of Vipers. He was leaving the White House. He said, I don't care what they say about that man. Talking to him was like talking to a peer. There's never been a president in America better able to talk business. That's Jack Welch talking about Donald Trump. That is not something you're going to read in the Washington Post or the New York Times or the Atlantic Monthly, okay? Trump is a businessman. He's pragmatic. He's a transaction guy. The problem is he's been fighting for his life from day one, okay? This whole first administration has been about Trump surviving to fight again, all right? Now, buried in all of this are over 289 documented accomplishments across the economy, the regulatory environment, immigration, and so forth. My vision for Donald Trump in the second term is that he closes all the military bases, brings the military and all of the support jobs that now go to foreigners, brings all those jobs back to the United States, and he rebuilds America. And my last 3 books, which I just published, they end my 30 years of wandering in the wilderness, are Reinventing National Security, Reinventing Intelligence, and Reinventing Engineering. Donald Trump can rebuild this country for 10 to 20% the cost of the failed Western model by using open source everything engineering, for which I was recommended for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017 for that. Okay, I don't deserve it and I don't want to earn it. I want President Trump and Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin and maybe the supreme leader of Iran and the president of Ecuador to earn the Peace Prize by implementing my ideas. We can lift up the 5 billion poor by giving them everything we have without the proprietary and banking predation for 10% of the cost of our model.
Awesome. Wow. Very cool. It just feels really hopeful, and you know what you're talking about, and that's, incredibly important. And have you thought of running for one of these bigger positions?
It's funny. I get a lot of people saying, why aren't you running for president? I mean, my initial first answer is because Donald Trump cannot be beat. And second off, I would much rather serve Donald Trump and help him make America great again. And then in 2024, I'd like to help a transpartisan team. In fact, I just had lunch with Jim Turner, who was Ralph Nader's number 2 for many years. And he's the author with Laurie Chickering of a great book on transpartisanship. And my game plan is very clear. Split ticket. Yes, Robert Steele, Cynthia McKinney, but we can't agree who's on top. But I love Cynthia McKinney. I call her the goddess. And when I'm driving her across the country in the RV, I call her Miss Daisy. So she's an extraordinary woman, and she should be a senator or a president one day. But bottom line here is if you have a split ticket, a coalition cabinet announced in advance, coalition level debates, a balanced budget announced in advance, and election reform plus an open source agency that delivers the truth, and you end deplatforming digital assassination and censorship by hashtag Google Gestapo, which is to say Amazon, Facebook, Google, Meetup. Meetup is co-managed by the Anti-Defamation League. They have waived all fees for 1,087 hashtag resist subversive movements, and they canceled my $77,000 paid hashtag unrig national movement with one in each congressional district because the Anti-Defamation League is afraid of what I represent. Okay, and I'm trying to work my way up from number 10 to number 3 on their hit list. So give me a couple years and I'll be there. But the bottom line for me is that America has to get a grip on education. The citizens have to be educated and engaged, and voting day should be the beginning of their engagement, not the end. We should be holding every single congressman's feet to the fire on every single issue. All legislative language and votes should be transparent. The public should get all legislation in advance, and the legislators should be voting the way we tell them to vote, not voting the way the special interests pay them to vote.
Awesome. Yes. Gosh, thank you so much, Robert. I mean, everybody, I definitely would follow his work, his new channel, Unrig hashtag. And I'm going to put your latest article about the coronavirus in the description, and all sorts of things that people can check out to really get to know you and what you represent. It was huge when I first just got in touch with your info, and just so much gratitude from our family to you. You definitely just mean a lot to us. And I know so many people who don't even know yet. So thank you for joining me today, Robert. And I look forward to staying connected.
God bless you, Laura. God bless America. We're all ready for healing.
Totally. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.